A Place Called Home by Laurie Wick, Chapter 13. Well, if that isn't the most depressing sight I know, seeing my dress on another woman and having it look better on her. Christine spun around in surprise upon hearing these words. Her eyes were met by those of a beautiful, dark-haired woman. Julia Cameron MacDonald stood with her hands on her hips, trying to look disgusted, but the smile in her eyes told Christine the truth. Julia stepped forward then, hand extended and a full smile lighting her face. "I'm Julia MacDonald. Graham tells me your name is Christine." Julia shook Christine's hand, and both women felt a spark of comradeship. Their relaxation was visible as all doubts cleared. "Yes, I'm Christine Bennett, and thank you for the dress. I hope it hasn't put you out." "Julia has enough dresses to loan the entire town and not be put out." It was a man's voice coming from the kitchen doorway that Julia had just vacated. He was the size of a mountain. Christine stared at him, thinking it was the first time she had met someone bigger than her grandfather. But Julia spoke to him as if she were scolding a child. "Behave yourself, Mac. Come over here and meet Christine." She caught his hand and pulled him over. "Mac, this is Christine Bennett. Christine, this is my husband, John MacDonald. Mac for short." Christine's hand was swallowed in a huge paw that she could not keep from staring at. Mac, seeing the train of Christine's thoughts, said, "My mother always tells me I just didn't know when to stop growing." He smiled before adding, "I can't say as I meet too many women the height of my Julia." Mac dropped an arm across Christine's shoulders and gave her a quick hug. Christine smiled at Julia. "I was rather surprised when Suzanne brought me a dress that actually fit. You can't know how much I appreciate it." The next hour was spent in dinner preparation and conversation. Christine met Calvin and Charles, Julia's sons. They had their mother's dark hair and their father's expressive brown eyes. Content with family surrounding her, Grandma M bustled around, finishing the table with a hug here and a word there. Christine was again amazed at how accepted she was. When Suzanne and Mark arrived, Emily bounced into the kitchen to hug Christine and inform her of her upcoming 4th birthday. Then she raced off to find Calvin and Charles. Dinner was wonderful, with only one embarrassing moment. Mark prayed, thanking God for the day, the food, and the addition of Christine to the family. Immediately upon the heels of the Amen, Emily wanted to know if Christine was now a member of the family because she was wearing Aunt Julia's dress. Seeing Christine's flaming cheeks and Mark about to reprimand Emily, Grandma M broke in kindly and explained that Christine was family because they loved her and wanted her to be. Readying herself for bed, Christine reflected on the long day. She had read a story to the children and also listened to Julia and Suzanne talk about babies and pregnancies. Mark had stopped her at one point to ask after her shoulder. She reassured him everything was fine. Silas had been quiet until Grandma M announced that she and Christine were going to paint the porch this week. Everyone, save Julia, protested. Conversation was frenzied for nearly 20 minutes when Silas ended with, "Luke wouldn't like this, Graham, and I think you know it. I also think you know if he were here he'd put a stop to this idea in a hurry." But the determined look on Grandma M's face told them they'd all wasted their breath. Reasoning that Luke must be the oldest and the head of the family, Christine wasn't too sure she would like anyone who was at all hard on Grandma M. But then she realized she was being silly and unfair. Luke probably loved his grandmother very much. She'd reserve judgment until she met the man. Christine now lay in the darkness, waiting for sleep to come. Pastor Nolan's words came back to her. "Maybe you aren't sure you even have a home." Home. The thought brought a fresh pain to Christine's chest. She would finish that letter to Mrs. Hall and get it off soon. The thought helped to ease the ache in the region of her heart, and she slowly drifted off to sleep.